Hello everyone, we're just waiting for people to join. I'll just give it a couple of moments as people are coming into the room. Hello there, please do say hello into the chat box. Okay, so hello and welcome everyone to the very first episode in our new Catch Up Fun series from Cambridge. I'll be moderating today's session. My name's Stuart Vinney and my colleague Rebecca East will be helping out in the chat room. During the webinar, you will be able to hear our speaker today, Anne Robinson, and you'll be able to see her on the video and see her slides. If you need to say anything, if you want to chat to each other, please feel free to use the chat box, which you should see at the bottom of your screen. If you have any questions for Anne at any time, please put them into the Q&A box at the bottom of your screen. It's better than the chat because we can keep the questions saved for Anne to look at later when she has a chance. We will be taking questions at the end of the webinar. So if you do have any questions, you don't want to ask them yet, you can always put them into that question and answer box and we will come back to them at the end. I'll also remind you again before the question and answer section to add any questions that you might have for Anne. The recording of today's webinar will be on our Catch Up Fun site later this week, and we will be emailing all of you a copy of the recording, plus of course your attendance certificate. That should all come to you by the end of this week. So I'm very pleased to welcome Anne Robinson today as today's presenter on Catch Up Fun. Anne's going to be talking to us about 5 ways to personalise grammar with young learners. Just to tell you a little bit about Anne, if you don't know Anne, Anne Robinson's a teacher. She's a teacher trainer, a writer, presenter, consultant, and she's also, of course, an author of several Cambridge course books and publications, including for younger learners, the Fun For series, so that's Fun for Starters, Fun for Movers, Fun for Flyers, and the newer Fun Skills, where she was involved with levels 3 and 5. Anne enjoys being in touch with teachers around the world, and as she says, we all have so much to learn from each other. And right now, Anne tells me how much she's missing traveling and the buzz of live conferences. So hopefully today we can recreate that buzz a little bit with this webinar. So Anne, I hope you're there. Please come and join us. Good morning.
Good morning, Stuart.
Right, over to you, Anne. I'm going to turn off the camera. I'll be here in the background. So
okay,
off you go.
Yes, okay. So good morning from Spain, northern Spain, which is where I live and at the moment obviously work from. I've seen some very exciting countries that you're joining us from today, and I believe that for a lot of you it won't be morning. We have people from Ecuador, from Indonesia, from Thailand, Malaysia, I saw. And I don't think it's morning in your part of the world. What part of the day is it where you are? Oh, we've got China as well. So yeah, so maybe you can put, yeah, good morning, good evening, good afternoon. So good afternoon to Thailand. Good afternoon in Myanmar. And good morning in Poland and Russia, in Cyprus. And Edward, what is it? Good morning, good afternoon, good evening for you, I imagine, in Vietnam. Okay, well, whatever time of the day it is for you, welcome to this webinar. Okay, so we're kicking off, as Stuart said, a series of webinars, and I chose the subject, and my topic to start was grammar. Okay, so what is grammar? Okay, to you, what is grammar? Do you like grammar? Do you think it's useful? Do you teach your young learners grammar? What is grammar? Okay, so what I did was I went to the dictionary and I looked for a definition of what is grammar. Okay, and this is the definition I got. Okay, so it's the study or the use of the rules about how words change their form and combine with other words to make sentences. So words might change their form because of tense. Okay, so if we have the past simple, for example, in English, then a lot of verbs add ed to the end to form the past simple or the past participle. And words combine with other words, so we might get a preposition that combines with a noun or a noun phrase, for example. So, my questions. Can young learners study grammar rules? Do you like grammar? Do you think it's useful to share grammar and to talk about rules and how words change their forms? How do you feel about grammar? Okay, so Esther, yes, sure, but depending on the ages. Okay. Anybody else? I like grammar, but don't like rules, Anna. Well, I think rules are useful. They provide shortcuts because our learners maybe don't have the amount of exposure they need just to pick up language. That's a very good point, Georgia. So grammar is useful, but not presenting rules only. Okay, so we can explain a rule or maybe help our students deduce a rule, but they need to be able to use it. Yeah, okay, so I totally agree with a lot of the things that you're saying there in the chat box. Yeah, they might know the rule, but maybe it takes them time to get used to using it and applying it. Okay, yeah, great. So let's think about then, how do English words combine and how they change their forms? Okay, and we're going to start off by thinking about some words that can combine. So I'm going to show you. Oh no, before I show you, I would like to mention I'm very involved in the Cambridge Young Learners exams. So even from the level of pre-A1 starters, in the handbook, which you probably all know, okay, you can download it from the web page, we have for each of the levels a grammar and structures list. And this grammar is contained, capsulated, if you like, in the different parts of the reading and writing, especially test. At starters level, by far of the whole word list, about 2/3 of the word list are nouns. So that's the most important thing for young learners at pre-A1 starters. Okay, nouns name things, and that's what we start doing with children. We get them to say, you know, what's this? It's an apple. What's this? It's water. So identifying and being able to name things is essential at starters. But we also have things like adjectives, determiners, pronouns, and we have the present simple and the present continuous. Okay, so we do have this grammar and structures list in the handbook for the Cambridge Young Learners exams. So let's think about how words can combine. I'm going to show you a slide just for a few seconds, and I want you to think about the words for the pictures that you can see on the slide. So I'm going to show you the slide. There are 8 pictures. Just think about the words, the nouns for those pictures, and think about what the connection might be. Ready? Okay, so in the chat box, would you like to maybe first, let's start by seeing if we can type the 8 nouns that, or 8 words that you saw for those pictures. Okay, so we've got armchair, bathroom, tennis racket. Okay, your soccer ball in your part of the world. For me, it's a football. Right, bathroom, table tennis. Okay. Right, so remember we're thinking about nouns, Esther, rather than verbs or expressions like go to school, go to bed. Okay, we certainly could use those pictures to work on those language areas. But look at what Ching's just typed in there. Bathroom, table tennis, armchair. Katrina's just typed in meatballs. What do you think might be the connection between my 8 pictures? Okay, it's not a thematic, it's not a topic connection. It could be. It's a grammatical connection. So what could the grammatical connection be amongst those 8 words? Okay, and it's nouns. Okay, so look at the pictures again. Okay. And rather than bed, for example, in the 4th picture at the top there, it's bedroom. We've got table tennis. We've got an armchair. Okay, yes. So Japan, compound nouns. Okay, compound words. Okay, is what the grammar area I'm looking at here. Okay, so at this point, a useful thing to get your students to notice and to remember and to think about when they're writing the words is, do we write them as 1 word or 2 words? So which of the words there are 1 word? Yes, so Terry, bathroom is 1 word, football is 1 word, meatballs is 1 word, armchair is 1 word, Anna, yes? Okay, and which of the words do we write as 2 words? Yes, so board game, table tennis, tennis racket, they're all written as 2 words, okay? So something that, a rule, if you like, for compound nouns, one of the things is that a lot of words, and I read once, I don't know whether it's true, that apparently the older the word, the more likely it is to be 1 word. And the newer the word, so we're getting lots of new words created now with the internet and technology, the newer the word, apparently, they would be more likely to be written as 2 words. Okay, but as I say, that's what I read and heard. Okay, but it certainly is something that we need to get students to stop and think about if we're going to be asking them to write the words. Okay, so rooms, bedroom, bathroom is 1 word, whereas living room and dining room are 2 words. Okay, so this is something we can get students to notice and also, as I say, to think about when they're writing the words. Other things about compound nouns. Okay. Right. Okay, so thinking about creating new words, creating new things. Okay, so you could take a rainbow, for example, and get your students to imagine, what would a wind bow look like? What would a cloud bow look like? What would a sun bow look like? Okay, and get them to imagine or draw a picture of what those things could look like. I found in Fun Skills at the bottom of one of the pages, and I turned it upside down, I thought this might be a good start for a cloud bow. Yeah, I don't know what you think. You can see some different coloured clouds. Perhaps we could add some darker ones if we were to use this as a model, okay? But getting creative with language. In the future, inventing something useful could be a really useful life skill. So perhaps your students could invent a new brush, okay? Perhaps for brushing your elbows or brushing your palms. Okay, so again, we can get them to create this and to think about the language and the kind of compound words that are very generative words. In Fun Skills, there's a unit about our dream school. So I took this as an example of where we could generate a lot of these compound words, or just to show students that we can create these and join words very productively. So these are dream schools for 4 students. And you can see that Philip's dream school is in a tree house. In his classroom is in a tree. And as they complete this, there's also a text which goes with this, okay? Philippe would like, his dream school would be in a tree house. The pirates would be his teachers, and everyone in the school would dress up in pirate clothes. What about Kanya? Okay, Kanya, can you see the picture on the right there? Which clothes would Kanya's teachers and the students wear there? So Philippe's school is pirate clothes. Which clothes would? Okay, and how would you how would you form the compound? Okay, would it be clowns plural, clowns possessive s, or clown clothes? Okay, yeah, Marina, clown clothes. Okay, because usually the first word in the compound is singular. Okay, except for things like 2 words, the very common words actually, sports clothes and clothes. Okay, so you use a clothes brush to clean your clothes, but you use a toothbrush to clean your teeth. Yeah, so usually the rule would be that the first word is singular and it's the second word that can become plural, usually, except for clothes and sports. Another thing about the grammar or the rule of compounds is the first word in a compound very often tells us what activity the thing is for, or we're going to use it for, the place where you might find these things or people might wear them, or a job. Okay, so if you think of a fire officer's uniform or a police officer's uniform, then you've got the first word tells you what the person does or where they work or what activity they do with the clothes in this example. So again, you can do a brainstorm in class, get your students to think of different words that they could put in front of clothes to talk about places, for example, or a job as another example, or activities. Yeah, so dance clothes, fishing clothes, what do you wear when you go fishing? Okay, so this is very generative, but our students need or I think it's useful to know the rule that the first word will very probably be singular, not plural, and the words will be, we will write this as two words, not one word. Okay. So here's some of my examples. Yeah. And you can see in activity, we might have the gerund, or we might have the actual name of the sport. Okay. And thinking big, okay, is something that is a feature of fun skills. So again, we could get them to think of compound words, compound nouns, to describe about what things they do in their English lessons. What special things are there in the school building? Perhaps there's a fun fair, or there's a dance studio. Okay, so lots of compound words that they can generate to imagine their dream school. Okay, so that was my first idea, using compound nouns. And I think there's quite a lot of grammar in those nouns that we can share with students, and then we can help them create their own combinations. Okay, not just use the standard bedroom and living room and football, but be more creative, both in what something could be or look like, or what kind of clothes or what kind of activities they could do. Okay, so another activity, my idea two, okay, for today's webinar. So in the back of each of the fun skills books, there is a section, okay, quite a few pages, called Grammar Fun. Okay, so this is Grammar Fun, Fun Skills 2, okay, and we've got Grammar Fun at the back. Some of these activities are pair work, and some of them are exercises like this. Okay, so exercises like this are quite mechanical, perhaps not very personal or meaningful, but I do think they have a place in our lessons, because they give students the thinking time and the practice. Some people were saying, you know, you can't just present rules. You need to give students opportunities to practice, and I couldn't agree more. So in this case, this gives them the opportunity to process the language and think about word order. So I definitely think it's got a place, but as you said, we need to get them to use the grammar. So how can we make this more meaningful and more relevant to our students? Well, something I like to do is I like students to go back through their course books and to find things that are in it, okay? Because I think this gives them a real sense of what's in the course book. Oh yeah, remember unit 2, we did fruit, or we did this. So they can revisit their course book. So in this case, it's Fun Skills 2, these grammar pages. And I would get them to go back through or look through the book and see if they can find pictures to match these sentences. Okay, so in this case, they had a reordering exercise, and then they've got to add very or really in the correct place here in the sentences. But those sentences are totally decontextualized. So how can we make it more meaningful and relevant? Find pictures for those sentences. And I found pictures for all 5 sentences in Fun Skills 2. Okay, so I found a silly monkey with his mouth wide open, climbing the tree. I found Zoom's skateboard, there, and well, maybe it isn't that old, okay, but I found a skateboard. I found a scary jellyfish in the sea behind this big ship in the picture. And I found a very clean, tidy bedroom. So yeah, get your students to see if they can find pictures for the sentences perhaps that we're using in our sort of grammar exercises. That's, you know, really, really tangible way of checking understanding. Then, obviously, they can write their own very nice, really cool sentences about their things. Okay, so things that they find scary, things that of theirs that are clean, perhaps things that aren't clean. They could rewrite the sentences. For example, if they've got a skateboard and it's new, then they could change it to my skateboard is very new. Or my bedroom is really clean, or it's a bit dirty. Okay, so they can write their own sentences. And once they've written their sentences, okay, they could then create a challenge for their classmates, and they can jumble their sentences like the first exercise we saw and give them to one of their classmates to put them back in the correct order. Okay, so we've got the sentences, we've got the jumbling, they've written their own sentences, they jumble them and they give them to a classmate to reorder. Okay, and no preparation really. Okay, and they're setting their challenges, and I think also getting into, you know, how do you jumble the sentences? Okay, I think it really helps students see how things work and how our teachers' minds work. Okay, so to jumble your sentences, okay, you can point out to them that, for example, in sentence 1 there, beautiful has a full stop after it. Okay, so get them to write the full stop after the last word in the sentence after they've jumbled the sentence. And then when their classmate writes the sentence, again, they should put a capital letter, which we haven't got. You could do that. We could include a capital letter. And they, again, have to write the full stop. Okay. Okay, and grammar. Okay, so students need help, or well, maybe we need to tell them or to get them to notice that very or really both normally go just in front of an adjective or an adverb. But there is a bit of grammar involved. Can you add very and really to all of those phrases? So can we say it's very fun, it's really fun, it's very cool, it's really cool, and can we say it's very fantastic or it's really fantastic? No, Edward, we can't, can we? Yes, Marina. So the only word between very and really that can go in front of what we call a non-gradable, an extreme adjective, yeah, because you can't be a bit fantastic. You can't be very fantastic. You can be really fantastic. Okay, so really is perhaps more useful and more universal than very. Okay. You can be very cool. Yes, Edward, you can, because cool is gradable. We can talk about how cool you are. Okay. Right. So again, just pointing these little things out to your students, I think will help them when they come to use the language, which, as a lot of you said at the beginning, is the important thing for them to use the language. Okay, idea 3 then. Okay, so I chose for this slide, I chose a poster which you can find on the World of Fun website. And this is for A1 movers. and it's a poster, it's a PDF, so you can download it and project it onto a board, or I mean, you could print it off. Okay, it would use a lot of ink, I think, printer ink, but it is a PDF document. You could send it even to students as well. Okay, so it's freely available on the World of Fun website. Okay, and I don't know whether all of you prepare for the Cambridge Young Learners exams, okay, but this is the second level, A1 movers, and this poster does two things, you know, very, very clearly. One is find the differences, okay, which is something that they have to talk about in part 1 of the speaking test. So they would talk about the pictures between the top and the bottom pictures. And those bubbles, those speech bubbles that you can see around the picture there, would be the kind of definition sentences that are used in part 1 of the A1 Movers reading and writing test. Okay. And you can see we've got some different grammar structures, some different sentence structures there, okay, on the poster. So what I like to do with pictures and posters is perhaps work on one particular grammar area or one particular form of definitions. This can help them, for example, when they're recording vocabulary, they could also use these kind of structures. Okay, so this is something you can drink when you're thirsty. What can you see in the picture that matches that definition? Okay, yeah, juice. And can you see the juice in both pictures? Yes, Grace. Is the juice in the same place in both pictures? Okay. How would you explain the difference if you were an A1 movers? Yes, Hesti, no, or Anna, sorry, in front of and behind. And what is the juice in front of and behind? A rock. Okay, yeah. A stone. Okay, it could be a big stone. Yeah. Stones tend to be smaller, but it could be a big stone in this case, right? You think it's a bag? Okay, I think it's a rock. Okay, so yeah, so you could get students, yeah, again, give them the model, give them the framework. This is something you, or it could be this is something we, or this is something people. Okay, there would be variations on that theme, okay, on that structure. You could get students to write them on, I created a Jamboard for this, okay? So you can get students to write their own sentences, and then you can get them to drag the post-its, these little cards, into the place in the picture where the thing is. With one of the other examples that we have on the poster, you can, and then a verb, okay? So again, this is one of the structures that you'll often find in part 1 of the Movers Reading and Writing test. So instead of looking at the varied structures, which you could, of course, you can concentrate on one particular area or format. Can you think of any other kind of sentence structures that you could practice using this activity? So Marina, yeah, the present continuous. Okay, so it could be a boy is. Anna, yeah, there is, there are. Yeah, very typical. Yes, so it's a person, or this is a person who. Okay, Terry, you could ask them what you can see, of course, yeah. Okay. Yes, definitely with but. Okay, yeah. So in the top picture, the juice is in front of the rock, but in the second picture or the bottom picture, the juice is behind the rock. Okay, so definitely but. Okay, very useful area to practice. So here are my suggestions, perhaps working from the simplest, yes, with the present continuous. There are and there is your but suggestion, yeah. In the top picture, a clown is giving the girl a ticket, but in the bottom picture. And a sentence structure that I really like to practice with students is what we call evidence. So we can see something in the picture that tells us, because we're detectives, that something has happened before. Okay, so someone has put 2 bottles of juice in front of a rock. That's my top picture. I could say to you, can you give me the same structure, but about the second picture, the bottom picture? Yeah. Sorry. Didn't mean to do that. I can't show you the bottom picture without because I can't move. I don't know. I can't move because I'm in presentation mode. Okay. Can you remember? Okay, where the bottles of juice were in the bottom picture. Okay, so my sentence is about the first picture, the top picture. Someone has put 2 bottles of juice in front of a rock. What would the sentence be for the bottom picture? Yes, Elsa. Someone has put 2 bottles of juice behind the rock. Okay, so we can describe the differences with but, or we could use the kind of who do you think put the juice behind the rock? Okay, yeah. Okay, we don't know, do we? Okay, so and one important thing I wanted to remind you, sorry, of is that, for example, in the final part of A1 Movers Reading and Writing, they have a picture. They have 2 sentences to complete about the picture. They have 2 questions to answer about the picture. And then they have to write their own 2 sentences about the picture. And those 2 sentences that students have to write should not talk about the same things that have already been given in the examples and in the completing the sentences and questions. And they should be 2 different structures. I'll answer that question now. Present perfect for movers. Okay, I should have specified. Someone has, would be A2 flyers level. Okay, so it's not relevant for movers in that it isn't on the syllabus. However, perhaps your course book or your course or your syllabus does include the present perfect, but they don't need to be able to produce that language. If they can, wow. Maybe some of the students in your class can produce it, okay? But I think, as Anna said, you know, you can maybe expose your students, you can use it yourself, but they wouldn't be expected to produce it in the exam at A1 movers level. Okay, I should have made that clear. Okay, but it's a very useful structure, I think, to, you know, making assumptions and talking about what has happened. Okay. So idea 4. Okay, so this again is a very common kind of exercise that you'll find when we're talking about grammar. Okay. So in this case, we're looking at the 3 conjunctions and, but, or. This is pre-A1 starters level. Okay, so it's from level 2 again of fun skills. And they have to add and, but, or to those 3 sentences. Okay. So how can we personalize this and get students to use the language? Okay. I've written 3 sentences, one with but, one with or, one with and. Which of the 3 sentences do you think is false for me? So there are 2 true sentences and there's 1 that's not true. Okay, I made it very easy for you, didn't I? Because I don't think anybody would imagine that I might like snakes and spiders. Okay. Okay, but obviously your students will probably choose to make it more difficult. Okay, I made it very easy for you. Okay, so get your students to write the sentences, but instead of saying write a sentence with and, one with but and with or, give them an extra challenge. Okay, and then an extra challenge, a reason for their partners or their classmates to listen or to read the sentences and to think about them. Yeah, so which one is false? Okay, I don't like spiders or snakes. I'm sorry, but the other 2 are true. Okay, although I don't play the flute very often now. Okay, another twist. Okay, again, getting them to use the language. They write 3 sentences, okay, but one of their sentences is about themselves. One is about someone in their family. And the third sentence, or might not necessarily be the third in order, but there are 3 sentences. One of the sentences will be about a friend. So they write their sentences, they give them to a classmate, and they have to say, the classmate has to say, I think the first sentence is about you. If their classmate knows them quite well, their classmate could also say, and the second sentence is about your dad. And the third sentence is about Julia, your friend, who's in our class. Okay, so it could just be which sentence is about you, or if they know them quite well. Okay, so sometimes it's a bit difficult to write sentences that maybe your classmates will know immediately which sentence is about you. Add a little twist. Which one is about your family? Which one is about a friend? So, which sentence is about me? And yes, everybody, it's the second sentence. Okay. So the second sentence is me. I ride on the back of a Harley Davidson motorbike. My husband is the person on the front of the Harley Davidson motorbike. So that's my family sentence. And we have a friend called Juan who has just bought a BMW motorbike. Okay, so that's me was number 2, my husband number 1, and a friend was number 3. Okay. So again, little twist, little challenge, reason for listening to your classmates or reading your classmates' sentences, and there's a task to do. Okay, as a follow-on, I'll just go back to that original one. Okay, so we have this first exercise, and then we have this one, okay, which focuses again still on and, but, or. Okay, we have a little example box, and then we have make sentences. They have to match 1, 2, and 3 with either A, B, or C. Okay. And it's a kind of riddle. Yeah, so Anna, yes, I agree. That students love these kind of riddles, okay, and matching activities. Okay, but I'm sure some of your students would do this very, very quickly, okay? And again, as you said at the beginning in the chat box, we want students to be using this language themselves. So you could get your students to write 3 sentences about 3 different animals. You could get them, if you like, you could get them to go online or find information in a book, if they need to find this information about 3 different animals. They write, you could specify, you know, they have to be one with but, one with or, one with and, or it could be, I want you to write all 3 sentences with but, or all 3 sentences with or. And then they split them into the 2 halves, they mix them up like they have here, and their classmate has to match the 2 halves for each animal. Another activity could be substitute the animals in the sentences. So which other animals are fast runners? Okay, so for example, a tiger is a fast runner. Is it black and white, a tiger? Or what adjustment would they have to make in the second part of the sentence? So a tiger is a fast runner and it's, can we say a tiger's black and white? Yeah, it's orange and black. Exactly. Okay, so we can get them to edit these original sentences, okay? But as I say, I like to get students into teacher mode, into creating activities, exercises, like the kind that you find in course books or that we use in our classes. Get them to create them. And then, of course, you could, if you're in the physical classroom, you could get your students to write the halves of their sentences on six pieces of paper, give them out, and then students could mingle in the class, reading out their halves of their sentences and trying to find their partners. Okay. So this again comes from Fun Skills, and you can see that we've got these grammar boxes. Okay, so we're really making the rules quite explicit for children, because again, you know, they need to know why can't you say the hospital that the doctor works? Yeah, you can say where the doctor works, but you'd have to say that the doctor works in. Okay, we wouldn't be able just to use one word there. And again, we've got some quite mechanical exercises where they have to choose the correct words and they have to correct the mistakes. And I think this is great. As I say, students need time to process the language and to manipulate the structures. But then we want them to use it. So I really like this activity, okay, which follows on from those. So in this case, they work with a partner or in a small group, and they complete the sentences. You could, of course, also do it as an individual, complete the sentences, and then they can get together and discuss. Okay. So I really like this, using grammar, using the same structures to prepare for a discussion about, you know, yes, me too. Yeah, I think like that too. Yeah, that's exactly the same for me. That's right. Okay, so again, they're using the language, and then we're going to use it as a springboard for discussion. Can you think of any other grammar areas that would lend themselves to this kind of activity, where we would give students maybe the start of some sentences and they complete them and then compare their ideas, their opinions? So we've got relative clauses. Any other grammar areas? The past simple, Nicola? Yeah. Conditionals, okay, that would be a bit high level for A1 movers perhaps, okay, but certainly at higher levels, yeah. So if I have free time tomorrow, I will. Yeah, we could be doing. Okay. Right, I will show you my grammar areas. So what grammar areas have I put on the slide for you here? Yeah, so we've got superlatives and comparatives. What about the sentences in green? What kind of grammar am I doing there? Yeah, so I've got two areas of grammar actually there. I've got should, the modal verb, okay, and you could obviously do others like must, could, can, okay. And I've also got those pronouns like someone, no one, everyone, to make sort of, quite strong statements, okay, and then we can discuss, okay. Adverbs of frequency, okay, you can compare yourself, how you behave, what your bedroom's like, is it tidy, untidy, warm, cold. I always have the door open, okay, and talk about compare yourself with your classmates in this case, but using a particular grammar area. Okay, so there are my five ideas for today's webinar. So creating and inventing with compound nouns, finding pictures to match to our sentences there, with our, what was it? This pineapple is very nice, etc. Using pictures and focus on one particular structure, okay, to give them lots of practice. True, true, one false, one for me, one for family, one for friends. Write and mix up your sentences, and using grammar as a springboard for discussion. And I have actually got a sixth idea. I didn't fit into my 5 ideas. I had this idea of, I drew round my hand. Okay, so I drew round my hand on a piece of paper. And I had the idea that this could be something that you could collect, so students could keep adding to over the course of a term or a year, perhaps. Okay, so these are all sort of starters structures, and I imagine, I was starting with, first lesson. My name's Anne. I'm a teacher, trainer, and writer. I live in Spain. Okay, and then different sort of grammatical areas, especially verbs in this case, that are on the pre-A1 starters syllabus, okay? So it could be a hand, it could be a poster, it could be a collage, but your students could collect and have a record at the end of a period or end of a year, term, whatever, of the grammar that they've been studying about them. Okay, so it's their grammar, their language. Okay, so I have come to the end of my talk, and we've got time for questions now. So Stuart, you're coming back on. Yes, you've come back on. Good.
And thanks. That's to use your examples from earlier. That was let's see if I can remember. Really fun, very cool. Really fantastic. Love all of the ideas, and I think what you've shown us is how you can take materials from whatever source and really kind of customize them, play around with them, personalize them for the kids. Some really strong ideas there. Really liked it. Before you have questions, please put your questions in the chat box. We've got a few minutes for them. So if you've got a question now, put it into the Q&A box, sorry, not the chat box. We'll come back to Anne in a moment. Anne, could I just ask you to forward the slides, and we just quickly show people where we've got some of these ideas from. So if you will bear with me just for a couple of minutes, and then we get back to Anne with the questions. So a lot of what you saw today, as I just said, I mean, and Anne, I'm sure will agree that many of these ideas can be used with whichever materials you're using for your young learner classroom. But it so happens that Anne has written on 2 of these levels for us, and she used some of those materials in what you looked at today. So Fun Skills, you can find this on www.cambridge.org/funskills. I'm sure one of my colleagues, Becky, will probably put this into the chat box now. It's 6 levels. It's for the preparation for the pre-A1 starters, A1 movers, A2 flyers. And it's all on the screen. You can see there. Go and have a look if you're interested. You can find it all on the website. And next slide, Anne.
Sorry.
Anne's driving the slides today. We have to sort this out later, won't we? Next slide. This is accompanying the Fun Skills series are these great mini trainers which provide 2 tests with guidance. You can use these with parents in the classroom. Lots of guidance and tips on how to progress through each of the 2 tests that are given in the book. An example of this, if you just go to the next slide, Anne, is that inside the book on each of the test questions, you can find one of these codes. So perhaps you can try this where you are now. If you pull out your telephone and just activate your camera, point it at the QR and tell me what you can see in the chat box. Have a go now if you've got your telephone handy. Somebody said, oh, a video. Okay, I'll give you that answer. I was looking for a more specific answer, but we haven't got much time. So yeah, it is a video. It's a video of one of the characters from Fun Skills guiding children through an exam task. How do you tackle this particular type of listening task or reading task or so on? So some really great stuff in there. Those are the mini trainers. And then the next slide, please, Anne, just to say that Anne's been picking some of the things out of our World of Fun website. You can see the URL at the bottom there, worldoffun.cambridge.org. Again, Anne's dipped into these for her session today. She showed you one of the posters on the right-hand side. She also showed you the flashcards, which you might be able to just spot there in the middle. So go and have a look if you don't know World of Fun. It's all on there. Lots of free stuff for you to download for your classrooms. Right, that's enough of that. So let's get back to Anne now so that we can ask some questions. Anne, I don't know if you've seen any of the questions.
Obviously, I saw one during, which was about the
I'll read a couple out for you if you don't mind. So this is regarding idea 2, and this is from, apologies for the pronunciation here, I think it's Kane. What would be the best solution, idea 2, if the student makes mistakes in jumbling sentences for their classmates?
Well, like anything, I think probably the more you use this, the better students will get at it. So the first time I would do that, I would definitely monitor very closely and give as much help as needed to all students in actually getting them to jumble their sentence. Or perhaps you could get them to give you one and share it with the whole class and see if it's working. Okay, I mean, anonymously, I wouldn't maybe select a particular student, but take a sentence. Okay, you could show them a good jumble, one that's going to work, and you could show them one that wasn't going to work and say, well, why isn't it working? Okay, perhaps there's a word missing, or perhaps they put a word in twice, or so again, you know, look at why would something work or why doesn't it work? Okay, so the first time you do it, it's a bit like in the pre-A1 starters, there's part 3 of the reading and writing is a letter jumble. So you've got pictures, you've got little lines for the students to write their letters on, and then you've got the jumbled, the letters they need to write the word. And there are some students that see it immediately, understand it immediately, and others that don't. So it's very important whenever you do a new task with the students is to make sure they understand, you know, how it works. And the best way to do it is to work through it with them. Okay, so my thing would be to train them how to do it and talk about, you know, why something works and why this other one doesn't.
Okay, there's another question here from Esther. It's a general question, Anne. I'm reading this out now. Would you recommend translating vocabulary to the children? I'm thinking about the very and really exercise.
Right.
Or would it be better for them to try and understand the concepts directly in English?
It's a difficult one. It's a difficult question to answer. Using translation, using comparison with a student's first language can be very useful. Okay, but obviously you've got to think about, do all my students have the same first language? So would I be translating in this case, or would I be comparing with everybody, you know, having the same background, the same language to refer to? I think it can help to show what's the same and what's different. Yeah. So for us teaching here in Spain, generally, it works. It's exactly the same. Yeah. You can say muy, very, and you can say realmente, really, and it's exactly the same. Yeah. You can't grade fantastico. You can't grade it. Does that? I'm not sure in your case. Well, I imagine, Esther, you've probably got Spanish mainly as your student's first language there. So in this case, you know, why not do it as a quick activity and just say, yeah, I think it's very useful to students to think, oh yeah, it's the same in my language. Or perhaps your students don't have that that word or that concept in their first language, and you can't refer to it, and you can't use translation or referring. But I think it's useful for them to know, if you have got you know, that possibility of contrasting and saying, well, it's the same, you know, it's the same in Spanish in this case. But perhaps I don't speak. I speak 4 languages, and in all the languages I speak, you do have that direct equivalent. I don't know, Stuart, you taught in Japan, would they have that kind of?
You're taking me 20 years back there. I defer that to any Japanese colleagues or teachers who are in the audience.
Okay.
Okay, great. We've got lots of questions coming in and probably not much time. We haven't been kicked out yet, so feel free. If you can't stay on, then we totally understand. If you can stay on, then we probably do another few minutes just to answer a couple more, if that's all right with you, Anne.
Yeah, fine. I can see that Tithia's just asked, for example, what's the appropriate age? Yes, that one. Great. Yeah. I mean, I think a key factor to bear in mind is it's the same as reading and writing. Are students learning to read and write in their own language? That's a key factor. With grammar, it's the same. Do students in where you teach learn grammar in their own language? Here in Spain, they definitely do. So if they're starting to do that in their first language, then you've got a basis, you've got something that you can refer to. If you're teaching kind of kindergarten, then it's a bit difficult to teach rules. But if you think of my first idea based on the compound nouns, I think you can start that right from the start. As soon as students know, you know, the S plural or the ES plural, then you can start to get them to notice, you know, or the fact that they're written as 1 word or 2 words. You can start with that right from the start, as soon as they're obviously writing and reading the words. Okay, if they're not writing and reading them, then you wouldn't focus on the grammar of compound nouns and spelling and things.
Okay, I think we're trying to wrap up now. If you don't mind, we wrap up on somebody's asked us a direct question about fun skills. We are Cambridge, we are here, so let's answer it. Fun skills 3 and 4 are for the A1 movers level. In this case, should both levels 3 and 4 be used for movers preparation?
Well, basically, but level 3, which I was one of the co-authors, all the odd numbers, so 1, 3, and 5, are leading up to the tests. So you will get, you obviously get test preparation in terms of language, but actual test practice and preparation, you probably get fewer questions, the language level will be slightly easier. At those levels, the 2, 4, and 6 are, really they should be ready to take the test on level. I mean, I from my experience when I've traveled to other countries and spoken to teachers, some teachers, take longer deliberately to prepare a level because they want to go into more detail, they want to give their students more practice, perhaps they've got more hours. Whereas in other situations, I found, that they want to get them up to the next level very quickly. So ideally, yes, do in 3 and 4, for example. If you've got the time, I would definitely say that.
I got a bit nostalgic then when you said the word travel.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, if you were, for example, if you were to do 2, 4, and 6, there would be gaps, that we would assume, that they've done that in level 1, or that they've covered this language in level 1 or level 3.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And there's a follow-up question here. Is that the same 6 to 7 months? I mean, these are fairly short courses. They're designed around quite intensive sort of contexts, aren't they? It depends on your students, really, to answer your second part of the question there, 6 or 7 months. I mean,
yeah. But it depends how many hours you've got.
How many hours
and how much content they've got with English outside the classroom as well,
Yeah. Do you think they're up for just the level 4, the exam exit level? Do you think they're ready for that? You could just try with that one. If you think they need a bit more work, then I'd advise you to start at level 3 and work up.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. Well, I'm really sorry, everyone. We have got a lot of questions. That's a lesson for us, is to try and squeeze in more question time at the end next time. You can come back later today if you're still awake.
They can also actually, if anybody wants, I mean, for example, Gumala's got a question there. Stuart, probably not going to have time to deal with it. But if anybody has any questions like that about, ideas to differentiate between adjectives, nouns, and verbs, that kind of thing, they're welcome to email me. I'll just put my email in the chat box if anybody has anything that we haven't answered today. I quite often get emails from teachers, and I love.
You might get 175 now.
Yeah, that's fine. Might take the rest of the week to reply to them.
Everyone send Anne an email right now. Okay, brilliant. We are coming back later today. I don't know, some of you are obviously in parts of the world where that's going to be impossible. We don't want you to have to get out of bed for it, but we are doing this session again in a few hours. If you can't attend that one, it will be exactly the same one, and I'm sure you don't need to come back and see it again, but there will be another session with Jane Ritter on Thursday. I don't know if you can just forward these slides, Anne. We can just show off the flyer.
The other
for
ones,
Jane's. Yeah, here we go. So this is Jane's session. This will be on Thursday, and Anne will be joining us for another session in the future. And you can find all of these on the Catch Up Fun website where you registered for this session today. So go in there, have a look at the schedule, sign up. Anne, I'm sorry it's such a quick ending today, but we've run out of time. Thank you so much. Yeah, well, we will definitely in a few hours. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. This was the first one in our new series of Catch Up Fun, so it got off to a flying start. I think you agree, and thanks so much, Anne, for helping us make it such a success with the first one. And I'll see you in about 5 hours time to repeat. Okay. And everyone else, please join us again. Don't forget, go to Catch Up Fun and sign up for the next one. Okay. Bye all.
Thanks. Bye.